They went to sleep, they wake up, and while they were eating in bed, because he went and got some things for them to eat, he's seeing if she recognizes any of the changes that he's made. And she really hadn't, because the girl was all worked up. She wasn't really looking at the decor. So in the playroom, he's got her nude picture in there up. He's also redecorated the playroom as well. He has paintings throughout the house, in the living room, and he's even got some in the bedroom. And he says that also, I think he has one in the bedroom. He also has put paintings in all of his properties around the world. So then Jackie comes over, and she is in one of the other rooms. She's very eccentric. The way they describe her in the book is giving very much Betsy Johnson. And if you know who that is, just look it up. So she is the fashionista. She's a designer. And she makes a comment to her that ticked her off. She's like, okay, your bottoms are like a 3-4, but then up top, your bust is like a 7-8. If you lost about 10 pounds, you would be like perfect for modeling. So she's always thought she needed to lose 10 pounds, but it still kind of irked her that this woman said it. And then it, of course, pissed off James, because he's just like, no, she's perfect the way she is. She doesn't need to lose anything. So she gives her some choices to wear, and she picks a lavender dress, and it's a little revealing. She can't wear a bra with it, but it looks great on her. And the way that James looked at her, she was like, yep, this is the one I'm going to wear. So he wanted to know, because it was kind of sheer, if when the cameras flash, would they be able to see her boobs. And she was like, no, I wouldn't even brought it if I thought that was the situation. And so then she shoos him away so she can finish getting her ready, and he's gonna go put on his tux. Jackie winds up pissing off our girl Bianca, because she's known James since high school, and she also comes for money, but she does the fashion thing because that's her passion, okay? And she makes the comment to Bianca, I've seen him with supermodels, actresses, all type of things, and what is it about you? Like, what did you do to get him to fall for you? And what are your intentions with him? Well, this pisses off Bianca, and she says, well, if he's your friend, shouldn't you be asking him? And Jackie goes, I'm sorry, I'm just so blunt. If that came out wrong, that wasn't my intent. But of course, now Bianca's sour with her now. And she immediately go, yeah, me and her aren't going to be friends. And that's okay with her. So she's like, makeup please, so she can just change the subject and get away from her. So she goes, there's hair and makeup people. They were really sweet. And James winds up coming in, and while she's getting it done, he starts asking her, the girls, like, did they like her bracelets and things like that. And they were like, oh my gosh, you're gonna need like the arm guard with these jewels. And he says, no, those are all custom made, those are hers, those are not borrowed. And then he says, I also have jewels from my mother that I want to give to her as well. Well, this started to piss her off, because here we go again, and we're starting to talk about things that she's not ready for. You don't give jewels. I would think you wouldn't give family jewels to just a random woman. You give them to someone that you want to possibly spend your life with. That normally is your wife, right? Your spouse. We'll say it that way. Again, here he goes with putting the idea out there. It's not even been 2 hours prior that she agreed to move in with you, right? And here you go again, trying to push her. Now, it could be, we could say, he feels this way, he knows she's the one, and he's just like, let's just get this over with, and let's just start the rest of our lives. We can go with that. But also, it can come across as, like I said earlier, you've already hit one barrier, so there's like like three barriers or something, right? And so you've hit the one, and now you're trying to get the other two as fast as you can. instead of giving her the proper time. Like, I don't think this girl ever thought she was going to be married. She's never thought of any of this stuff. She really had kind of put to herself that that wasn't what she was going to have for herself. So this is all very new for her, and she's trying to grasp this whole thing, and he's just, it's like he won't let her do it. It's like he doesn't want her to think too long about it. I don't know. It's a little annoying the way he's going about it. Like, we've read in other books where people are like, they know, they feel it, but it's kind of like on both sides it's that way. So it's like, okay, they feel the same way. But she knows she loves him, but she's afraid of it. There's a lot of if he's in there for her, you know? So she gets ready, she looks stunning, you know, he of course is so ready to show her off. We'll see how this works out. So they leave out. Jackie lives in the same building, so she's on the 15th floor. So when Jackie gets out, he of course asks her, what do you think of Jackie? And she says, honestly, don't really like her, you know? And she kind of told him what happened. And he says, I'll have to have a talk with her. And, if she does anything again, I'll fire her. And all she said was, you don't have to fire her. Just don't let her pick out my clothes anymore. That's all. So they go to the event. They do a bunch of schmoozing for like the first hour. And then a woman comes up and we find out it is his Aunt Mildred. And so his Aunt Mildred, straight up bitch, doesn't even try and hide it. She literally won't even look at Bianca. She says to him, please don't tell me that you've allowed some flight attendant to live in your home. And he tells her she's invited to all of the homes. And you better treat her right because she's my sole inheritor. Now she's feeling really uncomfortable because this is some family bullshit and she doesn't want any part of it. Well, the hits keep coming because guess who shows up? Jules. And she brought someone with her. So James looks furious. Now, he did tell Bianca, I had no idea she was going to be here. I truly didn't. Well, the woman that Jules brought is a woman named Jolene. Jolene just says to him, hi, Mr. Cavendish. And the way she said it, ding, 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 went, the bells were ringing in Bianca's head. There is some type of familiarity with this person. And he said to Jules, well, like, whatever you're doing, you need to cut it out. The planning of stories, all this stuff that you keep doing, you need to cut it out. So this proceeds to say how this is Jolene. And she's like, Joe, you and Bianca have something in common. So then James pulls her away. And they go to Jules's brother, Parker, who is James's best friend. He tells Parker what's going on. Parker's, he had introduced himself to Bianca. He did seem nice enough, but she was on guard from that conversation with Jules and this woman, Jolene. So Parker's like, I'm going to go give her a talking to. So then Sophia comes up, and this is Parker's wife. They hug, she talks, and she says, Jules is just a spoiled brat. She gets whatever she wants, and when she can't, she doesn't know how to react to it like a proper human being, So Parker apparently is going to talk to the parents to let them know what she's been actually up to, because I guess she only gives like this one-sided story, which I would assume she would since she lies. This one-sided story to the parents, so she's always going to look like the victim. So then when Sophia goes away, Bianca asks James, was Jolene your submissive? He admits it. He said yes. And immediately she's starting to doubt, right? And he's like, please don't do that. Don't doubt what we have. Here's the thing. Jolene is extremely gorgeous. And in her brain, It goes, if you didn't want her, why the hell would you fall for me? This doesn't make sense. So then he asks her to dance. They dance. Um, Her insecurities are still there. She goes to the restroom. Jolene and Jules pop in. So Jules is like telling Jolene, tell her, tell Bianca everything. So Jolene tells Bianca that she was under contract with him about 3 years ago. She says that, when he wants something, he comes after you. He's relentless and all this type of stuff and X, Y, and Z. So then Bianca says, okay, so you were under contract with him 3 years ago. Isn't that a little too long to be hung up on someone? And she says, well, the contract ended 3 years ago, but we've never stopped. She's like, just 6 weeks ago, he flew me out to Vegas to spend the night. That happens to be right before he met Bianca. Now, here's the thing. It was before you can't trip. However, I do understand some skepticism because, first of all, he is coming at her hard and fast, right? And what if this person, he wanted something with her and she didn't want it? Because she likes women as well, we find out. Because she then proceeds to tell Bianca that, his favorite thing is to dominate two women at the same time. And so if you're not really into that, then he's gonna leave you. So then Jolene whips out her titties and she's got her titties pierced. And she says he only does this to the ones that he really likes. And then Jules holds back Bianca's hands while Jolene grabs her face and kisses her. And so Bianca bites Jolene's tongue for her, to get the fuck away. And they were like, you're making a mistake. If you can't be with other women, it's not going to work. And she tells them, if he wants other women, he can have other women. I will leave him. That's what you all fail to understand, And they're like, he's not so easy to forget. Again, because you all are stuck on him doesn't mean she's going to be. Now, I do think she probably will be. Because I think she did make a statement like he's kind of ruined her for other men. So I think it would be difficult. But she's also the type of person, she's not going to show it. Whereas you two are actively trying to get her to go away. Why do you need me to go away if you already got him? That doesn't make sense. You need me to go away because you see that this is different. He's treating this one different than he did the rest of us. So we've got to point out a few things that he's doing that's similar so we can get her to go away, and then we might have a shot at him again. That's what I think is possibly really going on here. They leave. She's trying to get herself together, and James busts in the restroom. And he's like, what happened? So one of his good friends, Lana, had seen them approaching her in the restroom, and she went to go tell James. And she tells him, like, they trapped me, And she tells him everything that happened. And he's like, oh my God, they assaulted you. She's like, yeah. He's like, I'm so sorry. I should have done a better job to protect you. All this type of shit. And then Lana tells him, okay, you need to go. This is still the ladies' room. I'll talk to her. So Lana and him have been friends. They've never fucked. And she automatically liked Lana. Lana liked her. Like, she really felt like this was a genuine person. And so Lana says, I already like you because you made my friend finally fall in love. So Lana is also in the hotel business, and she had made a comment about how she thought he was similar to him. Like that they were similar because they were broken. And we find out that, because she was like, what do you mean you're broken? There's nothing wrong with you. So Lana used to do modeling for a short period of time. She stopped because she didn't like it. That wasn't her passion. She grew up in Hawaii, and there was a guy named Akira that she fell in love with, and she's only ever loved him. He apparently, they had a night of passion, I guess, years ago, but he apparently only sees her as a sister now. But she's been stuck on that man ever since. So she wants to go into more detail. This is an interesting story to Bianca, but she's like, we'll talk more over lunch. I'll get your information from James, and we'll talk then. So they go out, and she lets James know, I'll give a speech for you. You just get her out of here. So James, of course, thanks her. They get out, and while they're in the car, he seems distant, and she says to him finally, um, "You said you don't do relationships, but you were in a relationship because you were under contract for over a year with Jolene." And he says, "We'll talk about it when we get inside." She also asked him if he knew anything about Akira. He didn't know anything about it. She said, "Just never mind." So anyway, he tells her to take off her clothes. And she's like, "No, we need to talk first." He says, "No, but I need you to take off your clothes before we can do it." So she gets naked, and he puts her hands in the restraints. And he says, "I don't want you to run away from me when I tell you the truth." So here's the truth. Yes, he was with Jolene for a little over a year. He said it was only sexual. He didn't really even like her. He said that they were sexually compatible. He says he doesn't like two women at the same time, but certain submissives, that was their preference, and so he gave them what they wanted. He said that he did fuck her the night before they met, but he says again there were no feelings attached. And she's like, "Okay." So she listens to him, and I mean, it all sounds plausible. My whole thing is, I don't really think he's lying, because these women keep trying to find a way to get old girl to leave. We'll say Jules keeps trying to find a way. We'll say Jules, because this is our first time meeting Jolene. But they keep trying to find a way to get her to go away, which lets me know, if you and him, like for instance, we'll deal with Jules. If you and James are together, and you have an open relationship, and you all understand, you can do what you want, he can do whatever he wants, then why do you keep trying to go, like, find reasons to get Bianca to go away? Don't make sense. It doesn't. But it's that entitlement with Jules. He's the perfect guy. I'm supposed to get whatever I want. We're in the same social class. I deserve him. She doesn't. So I'm going to try and find a way to get her to go. That's just the truth. So then Bianca and James, they have a nice fuck. She, um, he ran actually to go get a toothbrush to like scrub away everywhere that they had touched her. And he also told her, "I never want you with anyone else." He's like, "Male or female. Like, that just does not work for me." So after they had their fun, she had made a statement that basically was like, honestly, I don't see it possible me being, with someone else. Like, it can't possibly be better than this. He took it as she was curious about other people, because he had also thought that, she just likes his dominant side. Like, what if that's what she's attracted to with him? It's just the dominance, not really him. And she says, "No, that is not what I meant at all. I don't want anyone else. So then he tells her, "You've changed my life. You've, made the nightmares go away. I used to only worry about work, and now I worry about making sure I have a balance between my life and work, and it's never been that way." So then he says, "You need to text Steven X, Y, and Z, because You need to let him know you're okay. So she texted Steven, but she also saw where she had some missed calls from a Las Vegas number. And this number has called her different times. Whenever she answers, they don't say anything. Well, there's a voicemail message this time. And it's a woman named Sharon Carlson. And she said she's married to her father, so she guess she's her stepmother. And that her father's been missing for a month and she needs to talk to her. Apparently, the father had forbade her from ever speaking to Bianca, but she needs to speak with her. Now, to me, this sounds kind of iffy. James heard some of the conversation, but right after he took that phone and he listened to the whole message, he told her, if you decide to meet with her, make sure you have security with you. You know, you cannot go talk to her by yourself. That's all I ask. So she wants to know what's going on because she kind of feels like she needs to warn this woman that, hey, dude will take you, like, he kills people, so she did feel like she should warn her. At the same time, this is someone connected to her father, so she's a little iffy about it, and I get that. So she goes to sleep, has that nightmare of what happened to her mom, wakes up needing to clean herself off, and she finally tells him the whole gory story of what happened to her mother. And she decides she's going to call the woman. That's the safest bet. So, because she really doesn't want to meet up with her. So then he asked if she would come back to New York on her days off. So technically, remember, she has 3 days off, but she normally works one of those days for overtime. But she kind of feels like, I shouldn't be taking money from other people when I got this rich ass boyfriend. I need to take the full 3 days off. So she's like, I'll fly in Monday and I'll stay until Thursday. And he says, Steven can come and he can, bring Javier, whoever you want, because I'm going to be working and I don't want you to just be by yourself. Because apparently the Manhattan office is having problems again, and so she's okay with that. He also tells her that she has become his family. And he hasn't felt that way since his parents died. She makes him happy. Makes everything complete for him, and I thought that was sweet. He takes her to the crew hotel. Steven and Javier are in the waiting area. And so they hug. She was so happy to see them together. They looked happy. She was super excited. So then she told Steven about not working the overtime, and he was like, oh, that's fine, because he had already asked Javier if he wanted to be his overtime partner, if he would switch. So she then invited Steven to the penthouse, and Javier was like, would it be okay if I came? And she's like, no, you're invited too. So they're all happy. They go outside into the Sprinter van, and Steven says, be my lookout. And so Javier and Steven, they're doing their hardcore kissing and everything in the back. And then she kind of notices, like, maybe Steven's the dominant and Javier's the submissive. Maybe he's into this, because the vibes that they're giving, especially when she was with them in the waiting area, was very much like dom submissive. It's also funny because she's been kind of paranoid about saying something to Steven about the type of relationship that she's in, and he possibly could be in the same type. Who knows? So anyway, they finally take the flight. They get back to the house, and there's a security detail there. And they're two women. And Steven's going to hang out with Javier, and then she had told him, like, there's something I want to talk to you about. And he said, sure, anytime. Anytime you need to talk to me, I'm here, And so she goes inside with the security, and she sees that her old computer has been replaced with a new MacBook. And she's like, how did that happen? We'll come to find out Steven's the one that's been doing this stuff, who's been helping out. Steven told her, he's like, I put all your old stuff, I took all the old stuff and I put it on your new one. She didn't freak out too much. Which she kind of feels like at this point, okay, I have a rich boyfriend. I don't like to acknowledge it, but it's real, right? This is the reality. So he's going to buy me stuff. And then one of the security people tell her, Mr. Cavendish said for you to call him, but she winds up going to sleep. She was like taking off her clothes and like face first into the bed. So she wakes up to a banging on the door. There's also like a strange sound on her nightstand. Girl's got an iPad, didn't even know it, okay? So the security woman, Blake, she comes in knocking on the door, or shall we say banging on the door. And she's like, Mr. Cavendish is concerned. He said you were supposed to call him hours ago and you haven't. This dude done called Steven. Steven came over. Steven got into bed with her, and the woman was just kind of like, I don't think this is appropriate. I'm going to have to report this to Mr. Cavendish. And she's like, this is my adopted brother. Like, stop. But she's like, I'm still going to have to report it. So she's like, would you please call him? And James is like, please call him before he jumps on the plane and comes. So she shushes out the security. Steven leaves. She calls James on the iPad. He's so upset. He's like, why would you do that? I thought something had happened to you. I thought you were supposed to call me as soon as you got back in Las Vegas. He's like, I thought your dad could have got a hold of you again. He was like seriously freaking out. And she's like, I'm sorry, but I was just more exhausted than I thought, and I passed out. So then he sees that she's got her tits out, because remember, she was like halfway like taking her clothes off when she face planted. And he's like, let me look at your bottom. She's got her covers on her. So he told her to remove the covers, and they had their little FaceTime jack-off session with each other. So then he also brought up about the possibility of her quitting the airline and just painting full-time. That way they can be together. And he's put painting studios in all of his homes. So there's one in the New York pad too. So she got uncomfortable with the conversation, because here we go again, starting to feel a little bit more like kept. I think what he should have done is maybe wait until she had her showing to see if it was successful or not. And then I think she would have felt a little bit better. I'm not saying she would have been 100%, but I think it would have made her a little bit better, because it's like, okay, I can make money. I can make a career out of this. Like, I can be self-sustaining doing my paintings. You know what I mean? Because that's what it comes down to, her being able to take care of herself, not being able, not wanting to depend on anyone else financially. So it's like, again, he's just trying to find ways to get her to like stay with him all the time. And it's been miserable for her. Like, she prefers to be around him too, but it doesn't supersede her being able to take care of herself, like her dignity, basically. You know what I mean? So a little while later, there's a commotion outside. She goes out there. Security's with this woman. The woman looked like she could have been, like, she's a retired showgirl. And we come to find out this is Sharon. So she had an envelope. She was like, I just need to give this to you. That's all. I'm not trying to cause any problems. And so security's like, we need to inspect it first. And so she's like, fine, just take it from her and give it to me. Bianca's like, that could be handled. So the woman leaves, and Bianca's yelling out to her because she wanted to tell her about the fact that this woman's husband is like a whole killer, And so she gets the letter, she reads it, and this is what she finds out. She has a brother. He is a year younger than her, which of course means the father was cheating. Doesn't seem too shocking, right? But it pissed her off, because it's like, he was cheating on my beautiful mother with this woman. Like, she couldn't hold a candle to my woman. My mama was so kind and beautiful, and this is who he has a kid with. So it kind of makes her upset with the woman, Sharon, but she also feels like she still needs to warn this woman about the killer, her husband. So I have a theory that old boy already knows about this, because think of the money he has, the resource he's able to put behind this. You're not going to tell me that he didn't say you find out every possible thing you can about this man. You're not going to tell me he didn't do that. So I feel like he knows and he just hasn't said anything. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm thinking has happened, and I think that's going to piss her off, because that means he had information and he withheld it from her. But we'll see. I could be wrong. Now, the letter also tells her to reach out to her half brother, because apparently the half brother stopped talking to them 3 years ago. I think his name is Sven. That immediately makes me think about the Golden Girls. If you don't know, you just don't know. Um, but that's kind of weird. Like, why hasn't he been talking? I'm quite sure the father's been doing stuff, probably was abusive as well to them. Maybe that's why he ran away, because hell, she ran away. So maybe it was the same type of thing. Um, but we'll see. So she went over and had dinner with Steven and Javier. Javier gave them some time to talk, and we find out that they are not, Javier and Steven, they're not in a dominant submissive relationship. But he had figured out that she was into BDSM. And he was like, listen, you do whatever, there's no judgment on my part. Do what makes you happy, you know? He says, plus that man loves you anyway. And she, of course, was like, well, he's never said it, so I don't know that. And he says, have you seen the way he looks at you? The things he will do, like move heaven and earth for you, like that man, he's in love with you. And that night, she has a hard time going to sleep. Next day, they fly out. They've got to work. Steven and Bianca. Javier is coming because, he's staying with them for these next few days. And then there's this new girl named Marie. She's a new flight attendant, and she just keeps asking questions about James, but they're like very rude. They're kind of like, he can't be serious about you. You're still working. Like, she's saying little shit like that. That kind of made me wonder if she was like a news report, like she was a reporter, like a tabloid paparazzi type person. But she just kept asking stuff. And she would just say to her, money doesn't mean everything. I'm not with him for his money. His money has nothing to do with me. Like, those are the type of things that she kept saying. She figured the girl must just be starstruck at this point. That's kind of the way she was acting. So then as she gets off the plane, she sees Clark. James gets out of the back, and she just kind of runs to him. He picks her up, tosses her around. Very Hallmarkish, but shout out to Hallmark because I love their movies. And he just told her how much he missed her and how much she was his home. Again, that's sweet. So they're all in the limo, and James tells her, I got something to tell you. She feels weird. She's like, what happened? Well, we come to find out that Sharon has been shot in the head. Same way her mother got taken out. And she feels awful. She feels responsible. And everyone there is like, no, it is not your fault, that this happened. But she feels like maybe her calling afterwards, because she tried to call her and she wasn't getting an answer. But she didn't leave a message. But James just kind of looks at her, and there's this helplessness in his eyes, and she feels the same way. And that's how it ends. So next week we're going to dive into book 3, which is called Grounded. What did you all think of this? I liked it. I definitely want to know more about the brother. I want to know about the father's family. Because remember the first book, he said how, you and your mother, you ruined me. Like, you took away my inheritance, all this type of stuff. So I want to know about that. So we got 2 more books to go. So hopefully we'll get all that information. It was good. The only thing that really annoyed me again was his constant pressuring of her to like keep going to the next step so fast. That just irked me, because it's like, She's telling you need time, but for him, it sets a bad precedent because it's kind of like once you let a person know like you can be moved from what you said you weren't going to move from, they'll just keep pushing you. He may really love her. I think he probably does. I just don't like his methods. So what did you guys think? Drop down in the comments section and let me know. If you are in the market for a beautiful notebook or journal, the links will be available down below in the description section. Make sure you like and subscribe and share. And as always, I truly do thank you all for your support and thank you for tuning in to the Always Reading Book Club.